So the Rockets had their first preseason game against the San Antonio Spurs. I unfortunately did not get to watch the game. And solely because of that is I watched the Raptors and I want to say, I think it was, damn, I can't remember what team they versed. It's on the top of. Oh, it's the Utah Jazz. Yeah, they versus the Utah Jazz. I watched that game live because it was in my city, so I unfortunately could not watch the Rockets, but I did watch over the highlights, and I have some things I want to go over here today talking about the Houston Rockets in their first preseason game. So what's up? My name is Rockets Empire. If you like what you see, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. And let's just get right into it. Obviously, you can't really take too much away from the highlights. I mean, watching the full game is basically, getting the full grasp of the game and the team. But from what I saw and, majority of what people have been saying about the Rockets, this game especially, it's looking pretty great. So, looking at the box score, they did win 134-96. A great score. We first got Jabari Smith, who I think honestly was their best player today. 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists. Also shot 8 of 15 from the field and 5 of 8 from 3. That's something I want to talk about today is that Jabari Smith, I mean, looking at his summer league, he wasn't really too efficient, and especially from 3. Looking at it right now, he shot 5 of 8 from the 3, which is a great sign. And honestly, I think Jabari Smith, he's finally finding his rhythm. I think he's finally getting into the NBA pace, and looking at it right now, I think he's going to be a pretty valuable piece on offense and especially defense because he's a guy that can guard 1 through 5, and on the perimeter and even in the interior, he's going to be probably one of our anchors on defense, standing at 6'10", 220 pounds. So this was a great outing from Jabari Smith, showing why he should have went number 1. Honestly, dropping to number 3 was probably a blessing in disguise for the Rockets. So, great game from Jabari Smith. Şengün had 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. Shot 5 of 6 from the field. Had 5 turnovers, so, that's nothing too amazing there. But I think in the long term, Şengün is going to be able to be a guy posting up in the post and, just working in the interior. And if they double team him or just play some great defense in the interior, he can just kick it out to one of the 4 players because all 4 of these guys, Smith, Gordon, KPJ, and Jalen Green, all these guys can shoot 3-pointers. And I think it's going to be great that we can work, in the post with Alperen Şengün. So, Errol Gordon, 13 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. He's a veteran at this point, man. I mean, nothing too much to talk about for Errol Gordon. I think for right now, I think we should have started Jae'sean in this game. He had a pretty great game off the bench. We'll talk about him later. But in the preseason, I think Jae'sean should definitely get some run because I think if we experiment to see who should be the starting small forward, it definitely gives us an idea of who's going to be starting next season or even for seasons to come to see who's going to be the starting small forward. And I think Jae'sean should definitely get a chance in the next few preseason games. So great game from Errol Gordon. KPJ and Jalen Green didn't have particularly great games on offense. I mean, KPJ had 9 points and 2 rebounds with 6 assists and 3 steals. Jalen Green had 7 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists with 1 steal. KPJ shot 3 of 9 from the field and 1 of 3 from 3, and Jalen Green shot 3 of 12 and 0 of 4 from 3. So offensively, it wasn't too great. Defensively, Jalen Green and KPJ both were pretty decent, and KPJ, his passing ability, I mean, 6 assists speaks for itself. So looking at the bench, there's a lot of standouts here I want to talk about. So first of all, Jae'sean with 21 points and 10 rebounds with 2 assists and 2 steals on 9 of 13 from the field and 1 of 2 from 3. So Jae'sean, definitely a surprising stat line here, first of all. I mean, he was doing this in the Summer League way back. Honestly, I think he has a lot of potential on this team, and looking at it right now, it could definitely seem like he could be the starting small forward sooner than later. So, great game from Jae'sean, obviously a good two-way player, something that the Houston Rockets definitely need at their 3 position. So, I definitely am an advocate for Jae'sean to start this season. So, next, we got Ty Washington, someone that also played pretty well in the 4th. 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist, and shot around 3 of 7 from the field and 1 of 4 from 3. I mean, he's going to be fighting Jae'sean Nix for the backup point guard position. It's going to be close. I mean, Jae'sean Nix this game, 5 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. Also, a pretty okay game from Jae'sean Nix off the bench. I don't know who I'd go with if I'm being real with you. I think Ty definitely goes to the G League, and Jae'sean Nix probably just runs it out as the backup point guard. And with good reason, because Ty is a rookie and Jae'sean Nix, he's a sophomore player, so he has more experience. But in due time, I think Ty definitely is going to have his chance with the Houston Rockets soon. I think he's probably going to be better than Jae'sean Nix. I think he's a higher ceiling than Jae'sean Nix. We'll just see what happens. But as of right now, I think he definitely goes to the G League. And looking at the next player, we have Josh Christopher, 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. Also threw in a steal on around 6 of 10 from the field and 3 of 4 from 3. Obviously Josh Christopher going to be that guy off the bench for us. Hopefully being that 6-man type of role. And if he can continue to drop at least, double-digit games off the bench, I'd be pretty much okay with him, coming off the bench for us, maybe getting around 20 minutes a night, 20 to 25 minutes. I don't know. He's definitely an interesting player for this Rockets team. I'm very high on him. Good two-way player, someone that's going to play a high level of defense and also just shoot the lights out of the ball. So that's it for pretty much the bench. I mean, KJ had 7 points. Bruno had 8 points. Boban had 4 points. And Trevor Hudgens had 3. So I don't know. All the Rockets players played today. There's some things I want to talk about on the negative sides, but looking at the positives, first, it was a blowout. So first of all, great job for the Houston Rockets. Their scoring ability was pretty great today. 134-96, great game overall. But, obviously it's the Spurs, probably one of the worst teams in the league because they traded DeJounte Murray. So I can't take away too much, but at the same time, this was a great outing for a lot of the Rockets players. Alperen Şengün, Jabari Smith, and Tari Eason probably are all their best players of the game today. Maybe Jabari Smith being the best, but all three of these players played very well today. Looking at the other standouts, the bench unit was also pretty great. Josh Christopher, Jae'sean Nix got it done. Tari Eason, like I said. Bruno Fernando, who just signed, I think, like a 4-year extension with the Rockets. So that's pretty great right there. Now, looking at some negatives that I have for the Rockets this season is minute distribution. It's definitely going to be interesting to see who gets minutes and who doesn't, because on a nightly basis, you can't play all of these guys' minutes. So I think the starting 5, they definitely all have a lock for at least 20 to 30 minutes a night. But off the bench, I mean, I think Tari Eason might be a lock after this game if he continues to play at this high level. I think he definitely could be a lock. Maybe Josh Christopher. I think Josh Christopher is definitely a lock off the bench. It gets kind of difficult here because KJ Martin, as good as he is, I feel like he might be on the way out pretty soon with what he said in the press conference on Media Day. I don't know. It's very interesting. I think Bruno might get some run. Maybe Usman Garuba, depending on, which center Steven Silas goes with. Because Bruno Fernando gives you, good offense and good defense. But Usman Garuba just gives you more defense and, not a lot of offense. So off the bench, it's definitely going to be really weird to see who gets minutes and who doesn't. So looking at some other negatives, I mean, the offense, who's going to be the offense running through? Because looking at the starting 5, I mean, we have a lot of guys that can run the offense. KPJ, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Şengün, and Eric Gordon. It's going to be definitely interesting to see who's going to be getting the ball a lot more. Because I think, all of these guys can definitely work well with the ball in their hands. I mean, Jabari Smith, he's obviously been that guy, I think, at Auburn in college. Şengün, Gordon, KPJ, Jalen Green, all these guys are pretty great. But I don't know, there's only one ball, like I said, so we'll see what happens. I think KPJ might take a little bit of a step back. I think that's what I heard from an article that I read recently, that KPJ might be coming, off the ball a little bit more and just playing more off ball. Şengün obviously doesn't really need the ball in his hands. He's a good playmaker. Same thing with Eric Gordon, good, catch and shoot 3-point shooter. Jalen Green obviously going to need the ball in his hands because he's probably our most valuable player. Someone that's going to need the ball, to really just score the ball. So I think Jabari Smith, he might get a lot of run on offense depending on what Steven Silas runs, but we'll see. Off the bench, I mean, Josh Christopher might be our only scorer off the bench. I mean, Tari Eason maybe, but this team is definitely a long ways to go from winning. We still need a lot more experience and a lot more just, getting team chemistry up and basically just writing it out this season. I think we could either be a really bad team or a team in the play-in depending on what happens, but if I'm being real with you, I think we definitely are going to be one of the bottom teams in the league again. So we got the Eric Gordon situation here, like I said at the beginning. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting thing to see if Gordon starts the season and continues to stay on the team for the rest of the season, or if Tari Eason gets the start or KJ Martin gets the start over Eric Gordon sometime this season. So I'm looking to trade Eric Gordon if I'm Rafael Stone, kind of just get off his books. But at the same time, I can definitely see why they keep Gordon. Good veteran, good mentorship, someone that's going to give the young guys some mentorship. The biggest thing about Eric Gordon is that he has a lot of experience. So that's pretty much the only reason I think that Rafael Stone is keeping him, is that his experience and his mentorship for the young guys on this team is definitely beneficial for this team. So, and that's pretty much it. I mean, there wasn't really too much to take away from this game other than, what I just said. Now, the Rockets, I think they versus the Raptors the next preseason game they have. It's either the Raptors or, it's the Raptors on October 7th. So I'll see you guys there at what is that? I think October 7th is like a Friday from now. Yeah, I'll see you guys next Friday. Hopefully the Rockets can take another W against the Toronto Raptors. I watched the Raptors today. They were pretty okay. You know, they started off the game pretty slow, but definitely started to ramp up. So great game from the Raptors, but hopefully the Rockets can take the W. So that's the video. My name is Rockets Empire, and I'm out. Peace.